Hey friends, welcome back to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast. Today's podcast is going to be for those of you who love herbs, who are interested in growing herbs, or who are kind of curious about medicinal herbs, but you're really not sure where to get started. Today I'm just going to share with you what I'm actually growing in my garden and how I use those herbs. Because I find a lot of times we can take in this information, we can hear about these herbs, but we really just need to see practically how someone is using them and what they are doing with them. And so I'm hoping that this is going to give you that really tactile, like, hey, I can grow this and then use it for this type of thing to give you the confidence to go out and begin growing your own herbs. Because I will tell you that an amazing way to save money on your grocery bill is to grow your own herbs. Herbs are very expensive, and whenever you can just go out to your backyard and harvest your own, it is a great way to save a lot of money and also to add some amazing flavor to your different types of dishes. So let's go ahead and get started.
Hi friend, do you dream of having a garden but you don't know where to start? Do you want to switch to more natural products but feel overwhelmed by all the options? Do you believe that a holistic lifestyle would help your special needs kiddo but you're daunted by all the information out there? Welcome to the Special Kind of Motherhood podcast, where you will learn how to work towards your dream for homesteading, gardening, and holistic living in small, simple steps that won't overwhelm you. Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a wife, Jesus follower, and mom to some amazing kids. As some of my kids began experiencing health struggles and developmental delays, I decided it was time to switch to a holistic lifestyle. I quickly became stressed out and burnt out, feeling like I needed to change everything at once. I finally realized that I had to start making one small change at a time, then build from there. I learned to walk this holistic journey in a way that works for me and my family, without stress or overwhelm or constantly feeling like I wasn't doing enough. If you're ready to hear from another mama who understands what it's like to have no time and who can help you make changes towards better health for your family in a way that works for your specific life, then this is the podcast for you. Pop in your earbuds, reheat your coffee for the third time, and let's do this.
Okay, I want to go through the list of herbs I'm growing and then just share with you. It's a lot. I have a lot of herbs because I do love growing herbs. And I will say that I do grow herbs both for cooking and also for medicinal purposes. So the list I have, don't let it intimidate you because this is something I have added over the years. I did not start out the first time I started growing herbs. I was not growing all of these. There are things that I've learned about over the years and that I've added to my garden. Some of them are also perennials, which is really helpful because it cuts down on the amount of work I have to do whenever they're just coming back on their own every year. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one is basil. I grow all kinds of varieties of basil. I love basil. It's one of those herbs that I literally will just walk through the garden and pick a little bit and rub it between my hands and just smell it because I just love the smell. It smells like summer to me. It really is like very calming and peaceful. It just brings me a lot of joy. So the different types, I will grow sweet basil, lemon basil, lime basil, cinnamon, holy basil, purple basil. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. Those are the main ones. I want to say maybe I did blue spice this year, but this is my first year growing it as well. Those are the main basil varieties that I grow though. Okay, so how I use basil is that I will make basil salt. So you just essentially take some type of a good quality salt. I typically will use Redmond's real salt. Then you can take basil and I typically will just chop it up pretty fine. I will add it into the salt. And then if you want, you could actually even take that mixture and throw it in a blender to mince it up really fine. And then you just spread that out and let it air dry for like 12 to 24 hours. Or if you don't want to do that and you would prefer to do it in an oven, and the way you would do that is, again, just take the basil salt mixture. I typically do like a third a cup or so of basil for like a cup of salt. And then you're going to take it on a sheet pan, spread it out, put the oven at 220 degrees Fahrenheit, and then just let it bake for like 40 minutes until the salt is no longer wet and it's completely dried out. And then you can just store your basil salt and you have it ready to go. This is also something you could do with not just basil. You could do it with a variety of herbs, which is really, really nice. I will often take, when I make bone broth, I will take the scraps from that vegetable, like the onions, the celery, the carrots, dehydrate them, grind them up, and then throw them into salt to make like a soup salt, and it's delicious. So this is really a technique that you can do all kinds of things with, but basil salt is very, very good. Other ways I will use basil would be to make a pesto out of, also to just dehydrate it for various seasons, or if it's like the holy basil, I will dehydrate that to use in teas. It has a lot of medicinal properties. It is really good at helping with stress and relieving anxiety and those types of things. So I will use that. I also will use like the lemon or lime basil in a cold tea. Roots and Refuge has a basil tea recipe that I will try to remember to link below, but just steeping the basil leaves, especially I love the lemon and lime, in like a refreshing ice cold tea. Very delicious. The cinnamon basil is really good for like a warm tea when you're going to be adding in other kinds of like warming spices. I think of that as more of like a fall type tea. So there's just a lot of different varieties you can use. My main go-to, like I said, would be either be making a salt out of it, dehydrating it for various teas, making pesto, and those are pretty much the main things I do with it. Okay, number 2, this is, I say number 2, but it's really like a list of a lot of different herbs because I was running out of room I was trying to keep it to 10 or less, but it's very hard for me to do. So these would be different types of cooking herbs that I use: parsley, cilantro, chives, and dill. So I will use these fresh, just go harvest them from my stacking planters on the back porch. I will also dehydrate them to use in dishes later in the year, during the fall, winter, when I am not necessarily having fresh, although most of these will grow into the fall just fine. Some of them even into like a light frost. But I just have found that keeping those fresh on hand and then dehydrating them to use when I don't have them fresh is really, really helpful. I love adding them to my dishes. It just gives a whole new flavor when you're using these herbs. And what I have noticed is even dehydrating my own herbs, I do not have a freeze dryer. The quality compared to what I buy from the store the color is just so vibrant. It just looks so much fresher and it tastes a lot fresher. So in my opinion, it's well worth it, even if you are having to dehydrate to use those later on. Number 3 would be yarrow. Now this is a perennial herb, which is really nice because it saves me time. It is also, you want to make sure the medicinal variety is actually the white flower. And with this, I will use the leaf and the flower. So typically you want to harvest the flower right as it opens. You don't want to wait till it's been open for a long time and is kind of spent. What I like about yarrow is that it will stop bleeding. So people will actually take it and use it, like crumble it up and use it as like a poultice. If there is bleeding that they cannot get to stop, you can just set it on there and it will help to reduce the bleeding. It also will reduce fevers. So a great way to use it would be to make like a bath tea, which is essentially I will take like the dried out herbs, I'll dehydrate them, and then you steep them in some water and then dump that water into the bath to let like yourself or your child soak in the tea. It's a bath tea. And I really like doing that. Yarrow also will relieve stomach and menstrual cramps. And this can be really good combined with ginger for a tea as well. So typically what I do with yarrow is I will dehydrate it and use it as needed in my house. Comfrey is another one I have. It is also a perennial, although I will tell you it doesn't want to go away. So I put it in a spot and it has taken over and I've tried to chop it down multiple times and it just keeps coming back. So with comfrey, you do not want to ingest it. It is not safe for ingesting. You can use this to make a compost tea fertilizer for your garden. So typically I'll cut leaves off, throw the leaves in like a 5-gallon bucket, add water, let it steep for a while, and then dump that on the garden as like a fertilizer. That works well for that. It can also be used as like a poultice or an infused oil, and it will help with inflammation. It's also going to help with broken bones. It helps to heal those broken bones, but you do want to make sure you are not using it on a bone that has not been set because you do not want it to heal crooked. So you only use this on a bone that you know is set and is in place. And it's really good for other injuries as well. Okay, number 5 is lavender. I use mostly the flower. This is just really good for calming, for lifting the mood. I typically will dry this as well and then infuse the flower buds into oils for products that I want to make at home. You can also infuse it into alcohol and then make like a pillow spray for it. So if you're wanting some kind of a calming scent for yourself or your child at night, you could do that and just do a couple spritz on your pillow at night. I just find the smell of lavender very calming. There's a lot of uses. I typically, like I said, use it for products and things like that. I know a lot of people are into like a lavender tea or lavender coffee or whatever, and I don't personally like the taste of lavender. I just use it for my products. Number 6 is echinacea, and I mainly use the flower and the leaf from this. You can use the root, you can harvest the root, but I don't. I typically just use the flower and the leaves. And what I will do with this is to make into a tincture whenever we feel like some kind of a sickness coming on, or maybe other people in our house are sick. Then I will add this into some kind of a tincture to really boost the immune system, because it does better when you are catching, like echinacea does best when you're catching it early on, not when you're like in the middle of being horribly sick. It's not going to help as much. You really want to start it as you suspect someone might be getting sick, or you're concerned that they've been exposed to someone who's been sick. So that is what we will use that for. You can also use it as a tea to help with sore throat as well. Again, most of these medicinal herbs, typically I am using them either to infuse in an oil for a product. I'm using them, drying them out and using them in like a tea, or I'm making some kind of a tincture or something along those lines is what I use the medicinal herbs for the most. Then number 7, we have elderberry. This is new. I believe it was last year that I started my cuttings, but we do actually have, I think, 3 elderberry bushes now going. Although I have not got any harvest from them, I have bought elderberry in the past, so I have experience dealing with those. Typically what we do with those is we use the berries to make a syrup or a tincture to use during cold and flu season, just because it has antiviral and immune modulating properties. So it's just going to be very good at supporting the immune system during times of sickness. Number 8 is lemon balm. This is one I just love the smell and the taste of lemon balm. So with this, we use the leaf, and you do want to use with caution if you have hypothyroidism, because it can have a negative effect on you. This is why, while I love lemon balm, I don't use it a lot for myself, just because I do have a diagnosis of Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and some people can take lemon balm with no issues, and others, it does cause them to have more issues with their thyroid. So I tend to not overdo it and just have it on occasion. I like lemon balm because it is very calming to the nervous system, and it's also calming to the digestive system. It is great for just making a tea out of. It's also really good for sleep. If you're wanting to help to calm to go to sleep at night, it's really good for that. And I do like it as well for like a bath tea, adding it into some kind of a blend for a bath tea. I don't typically, if I am going to drink a tea with lemon balm in it, I don't drink just lemon balm, even though I love the flavor. I tend to mix it in with something else that I don't necessarily like. It has really good medicinal properties, but I don't like the taste of it, because I find that lemon balm really kind of can help cover up those stronger flavors that I don't necessarily want to taste. So I will typically add it in with a blend, typically for something like a stress blend or like a sleepy time blend or something like that. Number 9 would be the variety of mints that I grow. This would be like peppermint, spearmint, chocolate mint, and orange mint. I believe those are the ones I have. These we can use for different teas. Again, taking the leaves, drying them out for different types of teas. It can add lots of flavor. It also has medicinal properties too. They can really help with digestion, with headache. I know that chocolate mint is really good for the flavor. The spearmint, peppermint can really help with digestion. Spearmint is really good at being a fever reducer. You could use this even for like a bath tea for yourself or for kids if you wanted. It could also be really beneficial when you're using that spearmint in a bath tea for helping to relax sore muscles as well. And then that just nice, light, minty smell can be very reviving, I guess is the word I would use. But I do find that there's so much you can do with the different varieties of mint that it's something that I love to grow. But I will say with both lemon balm and any kind of mint, all of those are in the mint family. And you want to make sure you are not just giving them open range to grow. So all of like lemon balm and all of these mints, I grow in containers, because if you don't, they will take over a bed. So you do want to make sure that you are being wise about where you plant these things. And number 10 is calendula. I just think calendula is a very beautiful flower, so I enjoy it just for the beauty of it. But also I love that it has a lot of really good medicinal properties too. So with this, I will typically harvest the flowers and then dry them out and use them in different kinds of skincare. So I will infuse them into typically some kind of an oil and use it in a recipe for like rashes, for burns, also for bruises and sores. You can also use this if you infuse it into an oil. It's really good for cradle cap and also for diaper rash, which I really like having these different herbs on hand so that if like something comes up in our house, I typically have the ingredients I need to whip up something. I can make a quick salve or something like that if we have, like I said, maybe some kind of a rash or something going on that's really going to soothe their skin. I also like calendula because I am a person who typically kind of struggles with a little bit of a sluggish lymphatic system. And calendula is really good at supporting the lymphatic system. So I make a lymphatic cream, and I will typically, one of the herbs that I infuse into an oil to use in that is calendula because it is so good at supporting the lymphatic system. So calendula is one of those that I find I get so much use out of because I love looking at the flowers, but also there's a lot of benefits that I find specifically in my home. It's very beneficial because I can use it for different sores and rashes and stuff for my kids, but also for myself in creating that lymphatic cream to really support my lymphatic system. And there are other ways that I support my lymphatic system, but having that on hand, especially if we're really struggling with like some kind of congestion or a blocked lymph node or something like that, it's just really nice to have that kind of targeted product that I can use. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I would love for you to come join us in our Facebook community and share with us what herbs are you already growing this year and what do you use them for? Or if you haven't started, what are you looking at growing this year? I would love to just hear your ideas and hear your experience. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you back next time.
Hey Mama, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds to share this with a friend who is wanting to live more holistically without the overwhelm? Also, don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. It blesses and encourages me to know that this show is helping you. All right, friends, it's time for me to go work in the garden and make some homemade bone broth. I will see you back next week.